In this video, we are going to look at a circuit or a device called the encoder. Encoder is nothing but a combinational circuit, and we know from our previous video what is a combinational circuit. The encoder is a circuit or a device that converts. The important keyword is the convert, and it converts nothing but a data from one format into another format, and it typically compresses the data for efficient transmission and storage. Now, the important thing, we have information in one format, and this encoder will now compress this information. We can have one data and we can have another data, and this data can be the information, and this data can be the compressed information, and this data, let's say data 1 and data 2, we can say data 1 is equivalent to data 2. However, the first data is compressed, so we can see that there are bidirectional format of the information. However, data 1 and data 2, they are exactly the same data. Let us look at some of the application of the encoder. So, to describe the application of the encoder and why is it important that you need to learn encoder? Well, it has a specific application, and this application enables the use of this encoder, such as digital electronics. In digital electronic circuit, most circuits, such as a combinational circuit, can be verified to enable the use of the encoder within a digital circuit. And two, we have communication system. Communication system is nothing but a system in which that information can be transferred from one place to another. And we can say thirdly, we can say multimedia application. And multimedia application is nothing but in producing a music, producing a video, a movie. All of this can be covered under multimedia application. So we can appreciate that those applications are embedded in an electrical circuit, like the digital electronics comprises of an electrical circuit, a communication system comprises of an electrical circuit, and multimedia application. All of them, to be specific, we can be able to say that we have a digital logic circuit, and we have the audio, the video, which can come under multimedia application, and we can have the cryptographic encoder, and we can have the text encoder. So all of these represent a specific encoder that can be used. For example, digital logic can be found in digital electronics, audio, video, and we have image can be found under multimedia application, cryptographic encoder, which is used for communication system, And we have the text message, which can also be used in a communication system. So those are the specific application that enable the use of the encoder. So during this introduction, I will give you some example in order for you to appreciate that why learning this encoder is so important. So imagine we take an example as a mobile phone. All of you have a mobile phone, and we can specifically see where we can find the encoder and its purpose in the mobile phone. So if you have a camera on your mobile phone, which normally takes a image, a picture, and this picture can be in one format, for example the JPEG. So this is the image that is stored, and it is in the JPEG format, and this is now our data. If we want to store this data in our mobile phone, then we cannot store this JPEG image, and we now want to convert this information, which is JPEG, into a binary information that can be stored in a computer. So in order to do that, we need what is called the encoder. So the encoder, we know that from our definition, which is converting a data from one format to another for efficient transmission and storage, and this information must pass through a microcontroller, and this microcontroller is already a computer on its own. So this information must be encoded, or we say it must be compressed. And when it is compressed, then it can be transmitted to the computer, and then it can be stored. Without the encoder, we cannot be able to store the data. And when we talk about the compress, we have to also know that this data has been represented in a simplified format. So we have many data representation which have high volume, and we can compress to a few data representation, and this representation is now having a low volume because this image is only compressed. So in that case, we can see that the volume of information is compressed through the process of the encoder, and it can be stored. Example, if we are using application that normally converts data from huge volume to low volume, such as having a zip file. So this zip file can have, for example, 250 MB. And when we compress, we now should have the same file having the same information to, for example, 80 megabyte. So this shows that the volume, as in the capacity, from high volume to a low volume. So this is what the encoder does to our information. So from there, the encoder will now transmit this information to our computer, and then this information can now be stored in our storage, and our storage can be the SD card, micro SD card, or the hard drive, or the internal memory of our mobile phone. So this shows how this information, such as the JPEG, can be encoded into a binary bits that is in a compressed form, and it can be stored in our memory element device in our mobile phone. And if I have to expand by giving a definition of the encoder, which is the opposite, and it operates such that if we now want to show the stored information, such as this image, so we can have nothing but a decoder. So a decoder will now decompress the stored information, and it can be displayed on a screen or a monitor, and it will give you the same exact image. So this is the data or the information that is the same, that is captured from the camera, and now it is shown on, for example, your screen of the mobile phone. So we can mostly see that this image can be a JPEG image, but in order to store this image and transmit this image through a computer, we cannot exactly store the JPEG image or the data. We first have to compress, and then we can store, and then to see the same image we now have to decompress in order to display the same image. So the properties of the original image is the same, but we are now compress or shrink the volume of this data and enable this data to be stored and transmitted in our computer system. So when using your mobile phone to take a picture and view the picture on your screen, you can now appreciate that also the encoder plays an important role in this application. Or if you take a video, this video is also in the MP4 format. So this MP4 format is in one format. So when we compress, it will be in a binary representation in a compressed form, and it can be stored. And when we want to play this video, which can be shown on the screen, such as this video in the MP4 format, then we have to compress. So the important thing is that between the encoder and the decoder, we know that there are compressed information, and this compressed information is important for the purpose of transmission and for the purpose of storage. That is why it is important for you to learn what is the encoder. In our next video, we are going to look at the circuit of the encoder and how this information from one format can be encoded to another different format or binary representation that can be stored. So you can continue to watch this video if you want to learn more about the encoder and its circuitry. Thank you for watching our video. Kindly subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends so they can also be able to learn.